And welcome back to the Power Accountability League. I'm your pal Dan L. This is my Chan L. I might be related to Cal L. And in the introductory video, I talked a little bit about the purpose of this channel. Hopefully it will improve my levels of wisdom, hopefully your levels of wisdom. Hopefully we'll be able to figure out how to leave the world better than we found it. To me, that's kind of important, leaving the world better than we found it. And unfortunately, it seems like as a species, we've been going backwards the last several decades. But and that's again, that's my opinion. There's no science. That's my subjective view of things. But hopefully, there's a little bit of objective reality attached to that. And we're going to talk about objective reality and subjective reality in this video. I have a synonym for objective reality. That's called logical reality, and I have a synonym for subjective reality. That's called emotional reality. And you might be thinking, oh God, emotions. Emotions, that's where we get our wisdom. That's how we find a better future. That's how we make things better. All of our wisdom and knowledge and the betterment of humanity comes to our emotions, and that's not true. That is not true. And by the way, on planet Earth, as far as we know, the only species which has a choice between objective reality and subjective reality is humanity. Every other life form, possums, armadillos, elephants, oak trees, amoebas, ants, bees, mosquitoes, eagles, hummingbirds, cactus plants. And I realize you're like, well, plants aren't exactly sentient. I get it, but as far as we know from a biological standpoint, all of the biology on planet Earth has no alternative to objective reality. If you're born a rat or a pigeon or a mouse or a snake, objective reality is the only reality for you. If you're a life form on planet Earth, you experience reality depending on the complexity of the life form. You experience reality with sight, sound, smell, touch, etc., your senses. You take in reality through your sensors and you process it that way, and you can't alter it. If you are a wild, let's say you're a wild leopard, when you wake up every day or when you are in your awake mode and you are trying to survive, you don't lie to yourself about a cliff or about water or about the environment that you inhabit. You don't lie to yourself about that. You accept the reality of the savanna you might be living on, or maybe you're in a jungle. I don't know. But if your form of life not depending on where you live on planet Earth, whether it's a jungle, whether it's a desert, whether it's a temperate rainforest, whether it's a polar region, wherever you live, you accept, you have no choice but to accept the reality that you inhabit, the conditions you inhabit. Human beings are different, and I don't think this is a plus for us. Human beings have figured out a way during evolution to separate objective reality from subjective reality. Objective reality would be something like this. 2 plus 2 equals 4. And how do we know that? Well, we get 3 baskets. One of them, the third basket's empty. Basket 1 and 2 each have 2 apples in them. You empty the contents of basket 1 and 2 into the third basket, which was empty a second ago. And now you have baskets 1 and 2 empty, and basket number 3 has apples in it. How many apples? Well, basket 1 had 2 apples, basket 2 had 2 apples, and they're empty, so we know we have 4 apples in basket 3. And how do we know? We can count. We can go pull up a basket. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, look, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Because we had a basket with 2 apples, a basket with 2 apples, and now we have a basket with 4 apples. So we know that 2 plus, but you'd be surprised the number of people I've met, and maybe you've met in your life, like, well, 2 plus 2 is whatever I say it is. I'm a human being. I have dominion over Earth, which is another way of saying I have dominion over reality. And let's be very clear, humanity does not have dominion over objective reality. Yes, we do. We create our own reality through science and blah, blah, blah. We, through genetics, through astrophysics, through biology, we create reality in this universe. And that's a lot of hubris. And humanity is filled with hubris. Not much humility. No, the human race doesn't have an excess of humility, a huge excess of hubris. Yep, that's true. So again, objective reality versus subjective reality. Now, what's another way people create subjective reality? Well, in one of my, I'm kind of a nerd here. Uh, see this little, see that little VHS box here, jewel case, whatever you call it. It's called The Cage. And there was some interesting wisdom in The Cage written by Gene Roddenberry. And yes, again, I'm a nerd. By the way, I don't think nerd's really a pejorative. Why? Let's see. You ever heard of a guy named Bill Gates? For the best part of 30 years, he's been one of the, if not the richest person on the planet. Ever heard of Zuckerberg? Yeah, these are the people who run Google. These are nerds, super rich, super powerful. So the connotation of nerd being a loser, some nerds are losers, but many of the most successful people on earth, at least as we judge success, and we'll get into that subject, by the way, in future episodes. But as humanity judges success, nerds have done pretty well. But anyway, and by the way, I'm not speaking for myself. I have a long way to go before I can say that I've been a success story. But anyway, getting back to The Cage, there's an interesting part of that TV pilot where a couple of humans have been kidnapped by an alien race, and they're observing the two humans, and they say something to the effect of, "What a curious species." They even hide some of their fantasies from themselves, which is another way of saying we avoid objective reality. And there's also some sort of segment in that TV pilot where they're talking about narcotics and about how we use subjective reality as a narcotic. Now you might be thinking, "Hey, don't you be talking about marijuana? I love me some marijuana. It's the greatest thing. Greatest thing. It's a plant. It's great." Alcohol is a chemical. Marijuana is a chemical. We use chemicals to escape reality. We use religion to escape reality. Humanity is not very good with reality, which is a bummer, because I think you need to be good with reality if you want to have a life that isn't some sort of dystopian nightmare. And like I said, I think humanity, especially the West, for some reason, the West, recently in the last 100 years, definitely in the last 50 years, has decided that it would rather just be on narcotics than be part of objective reality. Because narcotics give you subjective reality. You're allowed to escape the reality that you live in with a narcotic. And like I said, it doesn't have to just be a chemical. It can be your belief in some system or your belief in a faith. So I'm not wired that way. I'm not a big fan of escaping objective reality. I'm fascinated by objective reality. I'm fascinated by the universe I live in. And this has come to me over time. When I was a little kid, there was a moment, an epiphany, a moment I had where I started to understand the absolute magnificent, the joy that comes from observing Mother Nature. And that has grown over the decades. You might be saying, "Well, what are you, some sort of biologist?" I'm an accidental scientist, an accidental biologist, and so are most people. Yeah, most humans have no choice but to developing some of their engineering skills, some of their scientific skills, some of their theological abilities. So as we go through life, we are constantly being tasked with improving in all facets of living, including, again, understanding objective reality. But anyway, another little example of objective reality is when you see this image on my shirt. Does it remind you of the American flag? But you might be thinking, this is the American flag. Well, it's not really the American flag. It's got like 20 stars. And probably doesn't have the correct number of red and white stripes. But when half of the population in the USA sees this, it reminds them of the American flag. The other half says, "Oh no, that's the flag of Nazi Germany." And I mean that quite literally, by the way. Half the people in the USA who see this are like, "Oh yeah, that's the flag of Nazi Germany." It's not. That's subjective. Subjective reality makes you think this represents Nazi Germany. Objective reality makes you think this represents the United States of America. So today's episode was pretty straightforward. We're going to be talking a lot in the upcoming videos about objective reality versus subjective reality, because the best way to improve the life of not just every human, but every organism on planet Earth is for Homo sapiens to prioritize objective reality over subjective reality. And that's basically it for this video. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I want to say to you that I look forward to seeing you again here in the future. I'm not sure what platform I'll be using, maybe multiple ones. There's obviously YouTube, though I think that's probably not going to be an option for obvious reasons. And but there are other platforms like Library, BitChute, Locals, etc., Vimeo, Dailymotion, etc. But so I hope to see you on one of those platforms, and I do appreciate you stopping by and listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye.